r/ask Reddit. Cops of Reddit, what's the most bullshit sounding excuse you got that actually turned out to be true? Had a domestic in progress I responded to during Christmas Day, and the excuse for them fighting was we are not mad at each other, we are just upset because we wanted to surprise the kids for Christmas. We got some deer, dressed them up, now they are destroying our house. Turns out there was literally 3 fully grown white-tailed deer in the house, somehow dressed with full bell harnesses like Santa's reindeer. I had to call the game wardens down, who were then able to help me remove the deer from the property without injury to us or them. How they managed to get the deer and dress them up is still a mystery to this day. One of the funnier ones that I remember. We got a call for a kid. He was 18 and a gang member, brandishing a firearm. He had pulled up his shirt pretending to brandish a firearm to intimidate somebody. The person calling only saw a holster. After we got there, he kept telling us it wasn't a gun but a dildo. We took him down at gunpoint, and he was right. He was walking around with a holstered, black dildo. Why? Because he could. Haha. Former cop here. I was behind a vehicle that couldn't stay in the lane, kept swerving, etc. It was 1 AM, and I think another drunk idiot on the road. Pull him over. Guy is a straight up asshole to me. Curse me out, yelling at me, and I notice his speech is slurred. I get him out to car, and I can smell a fruity smell on his breath, and he has to lean against the car for support. I ask him how much he had to drink, and he tells me to fuck off. By this point I'm ready to bring him in for a driving under the influence, but I just had a feeling something wasn't right. I called emergency services to come check him. Blood sugar was at 40. Not drunk, just a diabetic. If I would have arrested him, he probably would have died before I finished the paperwork. Go with your gut if something doesn't seem right. My first ever real call was for a flasher at the local park. When I got there and finally found him, it was a mentally impaired young man 16 or 17 who had a pair of headphones on and a full Pooh Bear. I said, "Hey man, come here, what the hell is going on? You know you have to keep your pants on, especially at the park." He goes on to tell me he had bad itching down his pants and couldn't take it anymore, so he had to rip his pants off and was running home to get help. I said, "Come on, you couldn't make it home first?" He said, "No, I had ants in my pants." As sure as shit, according to more than one witness's account, he had been sitting in a sandbox playing at the park and accidentally on a nest of red ants that had crawled up his pant legs. Had a call one night for some teenagers trespassing on one of the large properties in the more wealthy part of my patrol area. Get there, partner and I found the kids and asked them what they are doing. They said they heard a school rumor there was a camel kept on the property. This is in the southwestern US, ain't no camels here. We tell them to get out of there, and they didn't argue. My partner looks at me and goes, "You know, I kinda want to see if there is a camel." So we are wandering around the property with our flashlights when all of a sudden I turn and my flashlight reveals an actual, live, untethered camel just hanging out and chillin'. We talked with the property owner, who wanted to press charges on the kids for trespassing, but my partner was able to talk him out of it when we started asking if he had the required permits for the camel and if the city knew about it, because if he wanted a report they would. Was an interesting night. I pulled someone over and his eyes were swollen like pink eye, so I thought he has weed in his system, but he said he was just crying because his cat died. Not believing him, but my shift just starting, I have him take me to his house in the squad car. When we pull up it smells like skunk, and I see a giant tent in the backyard, and when we walk into the backyard I see a gravestone and it read, "In loving memory of Floofy." And I still don't know if that's the real reason his eyes were red and bloodshot or not, but I'll let him go. I thought they were smuggling drugs, and when I asked them to roll down their window they said, "I shit you not. Don't give us tickets. We have donuts." I told them to exit the vehicle and found out that in the trunk they actually did have about 24 dozens of donuts. No drugs, so I let them go, but I had a hard time trying to keep a straight face when I opened it. Got this open line call. Dispatch is telling us it sounds like a man and a woman fighting, and the woman is screaming. By the time we get there, the house is quiet, Right before I rocking screaming starts again we go in. Didn't have to kick the door. It was unlocked. He is on top of her in the bed. He had a shirt on, but can't tell he has no pants because blanket is covering. We grab him immediately. He is like, what the fuck? He yells, dude, it's sex. Sure enough, yep, we cock blocked him. After explaining to both of them the circumstances, they laughed about it. Come to find out the phone was in the bed and they dialed 911. I pulled over a guy and arrested him for an active warrant and a suspended license. As I spoke with this individual while he was handcuffed, I noticed a look of extreme discomfort on his face as he was slightly bent over. This guy was a known drug user, so I made the assumption he put drugs up his rear end. I then asked him the obvious question, do you have dope up your butt? He denied at first, after telling him that it would be recovered at the jail, which would lead to additional charges. He then let me know he had a plug up his butt. While handcuffed, he removed a 13-inch dildo from his rectum and attempted to hand it to me. Lol. While at the jail I had one question. Why? He told me that his wife is very rough on him with a strap on, and he was simply trying to loosen up before getting home. Had an unemployed guy on video giving large sums of cash money to an employed guy. I knew unemployed guy had recently robbed a place and had lots of cash on hand. During questioning I confront him about having the extra cash as a guy with no job to give to the guy with a job. He says he recently won the lottery and was helping dude out. Just to cover bases, I went to Lottery Dep to verify if he had any winnings. Dude had won $5,000 shortly after the robbery. Still had enough evidence to convict on robbery though. Just finishing up a short call where a woman said her boyfriend choked her when we got another call about a stabbing on the same street a few houses down. We get on scene and the guy says his girlfriend stabbed him with a pair of scissors. His hand was clearly broken as one of the bones in his hand was cracked in half and the bone was tented like an inverted V and was about to break through the skin. He said his girlfriend drove off. So we get a warrant for her arrest. Neighboring county finds her and we book her in jail for malicious wounding and a domestic charge. After we have booked her, she mutters that she called 911 but no one came. She was just defending herself and he choked her. Alarm bells kind of go off as we were at a EV choking call on the same street and only received a call from her boyfriend saying he was stabbed. We call up dispatch and it turns out, since both calls started as 911 cell phone hang-ups and mentioned choking, someone fucked up and thought both calls originated from the same house and we were only dispatched to the one call. I called my sergeant and let him deal with that because that's way beyond my pay grade. Got dispatched to a person harassing people for money. The guy was acting super shady and it was discovered he had left a rehab center against a court order. While searching him, I found drugs in the coin pocket, some pills, if I remember correctly. So of course he utters the famous line, "These aren't my pants." Of course we don't believe him and he's charged with drug possession. A little while later we have an employee from the rehab center come to the station and she fills us in on the whole story. The guy we had in custody found out his mother was sick and was in the hospital. He escaped from rehab and was begging for money to take the bus to the hospital. He borrowed the pants from a fellow rehab patient, unaware the pills were hidden in the pocket. The other patient admitted to pants and the pills being his. We couldn't frigging believe it. Arrested a guy for some felony theft and drug warrants. Was searching him and felt a hard object in his ass crack not consistent with human anatomy. He goes, "It's tobacco, man, I swear." Then he pulls it out and it's in a balloon. I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. Cut it open and sure enough it was mint chewing tobacco. I guess his plan was to shove it fully up there so he'd have some chew in jail if and when he got arrested. Cop here got a call of a domestic dispute that sounded very heated and a lot of banging was heard. Get to scene and I can hear someone yelling and swearing and brawling. Doesn't sound good at all. Guy answers the door, shirt off and angry, but seems bewildered as to why police had been called. He told me he was building IKEA furniture. Sounds like the most bullshit thing. But we enter, see the new IKEA furniture half set up in no one else's home. Color me surprised.